Aotearoa, a journey through Earth's last great wilderness. New Zealand's spine of ice and stone that hasn't finished growing. Two continents grind against each other beneath the surface, pushing mountains higher and carving valleys deeper every year. The glaciers here descend into rainforest. The volcanoes in the north still rumble beneath a lake that fills an ancient crater. And for 7 centuries, the people who call this land Aotearoa have treated it not as property, but as something alive. The spine of ice. The southern Alps run the length of the South Island like a backbone of snow and rock. Aoraki, or Mount Cook, rises to 3,724 meters, and its summit reflects in the turquoise waters of Lake Pukaki. That color comes from glacial dust so fine it suspends in the water and turns it the shade of a robin's egg. The Fox and Franz Josef glaciers aren't like almost any others on Earth. They're temperate maritime glaciers, which means they descend from the alpine heights straight into rainforest. Franz Josef stretches 12 kilometers and is the steepest glacier in New Zealand, while Fox covers about 32 square kilometers. Both of them move slowly through valleys that ice carved over millennia. If you stand in the forest, you can hear the ice shifting in the distance. The silence up here isn't empty because it's the sound of a place that's still growing. Every earthquake and every season of snow adds another layer to a process that's been running for hundreds of millions of years. The land beneath your feet has existed in this part of the world for roughly 500 million years. It's still changing shape today. What you get is a place that makes the air feel thinner and the horizon feel closer to something older than memory, where mountains meet the sea. But the mountains are only the beginning. Where the ice ends, the sea cuts in. Glaciers carved Milford Sound more than 20,000 years ago, and the cliffs here rise over 1,200 meters from dark water. When it rains, hundreds of temporary waterfalls appear on the rock faces like silver threads. The Maori knew this place as Piopiotahhe long before any Europeans saw it. They came here to gather ponamu, the green stone they used for tools and ornaments. Many people credit Rudyard Kipling with calling it the 8th wonder of the world, and the description fits. The water's so dark and still that it acts like a mirror for the cliffs above. Only the sound of falling water breaks the silence. Small talk doesn't survive here. The scale is too large, and the history runs too deep for anything ordinary. You don't visit Piopiotahhe, you enter it, and the walls of stone remind you that the world was here long before you were. The surface is so still that the cliffs seem to rise from nowhere, and the darkness below holds depths no human has fully mapped. The wild edge, but the land turns even wilder. The west coast is where the Tasman Sea meets the shore with full force. At Punakaki, millions of years of erosion have stacked limestone into layered formations that now form the Pancake Rocks. When the tide's high, seawater shoots upward through blowholes with a sound like thunder. The beaches here are black sand, not gold, and the water's cold and grey. This is a coastline that doesn't invite you in. It demands that you watch, because the force that shaped these rocks is still at work every day. The waves have carved arches and caves out of stone that formed 30 million years ago. Stand on the shore long enough, and you can feel the earth breathing through the spray. The living earth, but the story doesn't end at the ocean. The earth is still alive, and it moves north. Lake Taupo is more than a lake. It fills the caldera of a supervolcano. That eruption had enough force to alter the climate of the entire planet roughly 25,500 years ago. The water covers 616 square kilometers, and the lake is 186 meters deep. What looks peaceful from the shore was once one of the most powerful explosions in human history. That eruption created the crater that now holds the lake, and it left deposits across the entire North Island. Aotearoa sits on the same volcanic heartland, and the ground there bubbles with mud pools and geysers that send steam into the air. The hot springs carry vivid colors, oranges and greens that look like they belong to another world. The earth here isn't stable ground. It's a surface stretched thin over heat and pressure that's built up since before recorded history. But the earth hides more than heat and steam. Under the rolling green hills of Waitomo, there's a labyrinth of limestone caves. Thousands of Arachnocampa luminosa cover the ceiling, a glowworm species that exists only in New Zealand. Looking up at them is like staring into a galaxy beneath the earth, and the silence below makes the light feel even more alive. For centuries, people who don't see themselves as owners have watched over all of this land. The Maori arrived about 700 years ago from Polynesia. They named the land Aotearoa, which means the land of the long white cloud. Their philosophy is called Kaitiakitanga, and it means guardianship rather than ownership. They belong to the land, not the other way around. And the mountains are their ancestors, not their real estate. In 2017, New Zealand granted the Wanganui River the legal rights of a person under the Te Awa Tupua Act. The river can now stand in court as a living entity. The people who live beside it argued for decades that you can't separate the water from the life it supports. This was one of the first times any nation recognized a natural feature as a person. It changed how the world thinks about ownership. At Cape Reinga, the Tasman Sea and the Pacific Ocean collide, and Maori tradition holds that this is where spirits depart. The volcanic peaks of Tongariro are sacred ground, and ancestors have protected them for generations. These places aren't scenery because they're part of a family that includes every mountain and every stream. The sanctuary, you're looking at a place that still holds fire, ice, and human care together on one ground. You don't need to process a complex story. You only need to be here and let the water's sound and the weight of stone do what they've always done. They reset the mind and slow the heart in a way that no screen or schedule ever could. Conclusion. This land can't be conquered, and it can only be witnessed. The world still holds places like this, and the next journey is already waiting. The wild is closer than you think. Subscribe if you want to see where we go next, and I'll see you there.